Good evening, Oxnard. Welcome to this presentation by the League of Women Voters. This forum is with the candidates who are running for Oxnard Mayor. I'm David Marin, your moderator and a member of the League of Women Voters. Tonight we'll hear from two of the three candidates. There are three candidates running, and if Richard Linares joins us, we will add him as well. We have John Ceragoza and Deirdre Frank with us now, but at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of the League of Women Voters, Ventura County, Betsy Patterson.
Good evening. I'm happy to welcome you all on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Ventura County. 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment was ratified, giving women across our nation the right to vote. We hold the right to vote precious since not all people were given that right in the original Constitution. And for 100 years, the League of Women Voters has been dedicated to encouraging civic engagement and informing voters about the candidates and the issues. From its beginnings and continuing today, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate or political party. Each of us has a voice in our government, but only if we use our vote. To be informed voters, we must ask questions of the candidates and understand the pros and cons of each ballot proposition before we cast our vote. This is your opportunity as voters to learn about the candidates and where they stand on issues important to you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you have many of your questions answered by the candidates, and be sure to make a plan to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. With that, we'll get started with opening statements. The candidates will have a minute and a half each. We drew numbers earlier. Deirdre Frank will go first. Deirdre, whenever you're ready, please begin.
Thank you, I'm ready. Hello, my name is Deirdre Frank. I'm running for mayor of Oxnard. I was motivated to run for this office because I've lived here since 1988. I'm a lawyer. I've had my practice in Oxnard starting in 1983. I love living in Oxnard. I am a UCLA graduate. Then I went to law school, Southwestern University in Los Angeles. I practiced in Los Angeles for 8 years before coming to Oxnard. I built my house in Oxnard Shores, and I've never lived since. I have one son who's 37. He lives in Ventura, so he grew up in Oxnard as well. This city has a lot to offer. Although we're in some dire circumstance right now, we have a lot of success on our future. I want to be there to guide that. As the chair of the Oxnard Planning Commission, I've worked diligently to protect our interests in the developments coming forward. I've kept out some developments that I thought were inappropriate, ugly, misplaced, not good for our residents. I worked hard on Fisherman's Wharf. I worked hard on Ormond Beach and the peeper plant down at the beach. I fought very hard for very good projects in South Oxnard.
Thank you, Deirdre. We're going to have to stop there. Your time is up.
Well, thank you very much.
And our next candidate is John Ceragoza.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Cheryl, and League of Women Voters. I want to, like you said, with you that I am a third generation Oxnarder. I've been here for all my life. You know, one from potholes to homelessness. It's a challenge that we have here in Oxnard, and as your mayor, I will provide the leadership that I think is extremely important. I'd like to share with you that I've served as a council member for 12 years and also as a supervisor for 12 years. And the reason I'm running for mayor is because I care about Oxnard. I love Oxnard. I think it's important that we have somebody who's been living here all his life, somebody that can have strong leadership. I would bring to Oxnard businesses, improve lifestyle, support and promote youth, recreation, jobs, senior programs, and also reduce crimes, increase budget reserves, and continue to work with the environment. That's why a support measure E is extremely important for all of us. I will work with budgets, with businesses, with homelessness, and others. And also like to share that finally, my 24 years of experience, I believe I can work with the city of Oxnard and be one of the best mayors we ever had. As your mayor, I would like to ask you to vote for me here on November the 3rd. And if you need additional information, go to my website and look for zaragozaformayor.com, ZARGOZA FOR for mayor.com. And thank you so much, and vote for John C. Ceragoza. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll start the first question with you. We'll go along here. And this first question deals with the environment and specifically the Ormond Beach wetlands. What do you think as far as what is the best policies that should be put in place to improve that critical habitat? And I remind you that many volunteers have removed thousands of pounds of trash from the wetlands. So the voters want to know, what will you do to improve and preserve that habitat?
Well, I'd like to share with you that as a council member and mayor pro tem, I worked with Ormond Beach. In fact, we bought part of that Ormond Beach when I was a council member. And at that time, my whole job was to protect those wetlands. Those wetlands are probably the only wetlands we have, the last wetlands we have here in the whole coast of California. And we have a lot of species there that are really important to all of us, not only birds, wildlife, but plants. But I think it's important that we save it and work with the constituency and work with the conservancy, and I've worked with the conservation for many years, and also work with the University of Channel Islands to preserve that. That is one of the last wetlands that we have. And at one time we were thinking of coming out with some bridges to look at it, and a park. And that's working with the Sabres Road Design Board for many, many years, with the Godwins and quite a few of those individuals that live in that area. And so I believe that we need to take care of it, and I really will work with that. And also get rid of that slag. I think it's important that we get rid of that slag, because really it becomes detrimental not only to the wildlife, but potentially we don't know if it's actually contaminating the water underneath. But I definitely will support Ormond Beach and have supported forever and ever, and continue to support it to make it one of the best wonderlands in the whole state of California. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Deirdre, same question to you. What will you do to improve and preserve the habitat?
Everything. I can share with you that I was on the Planning Commission when the very ill-conceived specific plan to develop Ormond Beach into North Shore and South Shore came forward during the time Mr. Ceragoza was on the City Council. Even though he may not have voted to approve the specific plan, there was no emphatic opposition. This specific plan got all the way to the final vote, went through EIRs, Planning Commission, numerous hearings, 3 City Council hearings, and the City Council approved it. It took a court decision to throw out the EIR on a very ill-conceived project. I was against that from the first. I was the only no vote on the Planning Commission. And so my heart has been with Ormond from the very beginning, just as it was against ONG. The power plant that's down there, that's poisonous on there, ugly, is being taken down through the efforts of our Oxnard city manager and his agreement with the operator of that plant to fund $25 million into a trust fund that will allow Oxnard to have that power plant removed in 3 years. As far as the homeless that are down there and the trash and the garbage that's there and the encampments, you know, the county is responsible.
Have to stop you there, Deirdre. Your time's run out. Just confirming you are able to see the timer, right? On your screen. Okay. Deirdre, we'll start the next question with you, but let's stay somewhat with the environment. Question is about the climate change. We know that the climate is changing. The city is going to have to adapt. Certainly it has beachfront property. Share with us your views about how the city should adapt to climate change and what it can do to actually curtail emissions.
Okay, well, we need to green our buildings, decarbonize them, and start using our natural light. I mean, definitely impose a solar requirement on all new construction and modify our existing buildings to the extent that we can to be self-sufficient and get us into microgrid situation. As far as sea rise, it's real. It was downplayed when the EIR came through on Ormond Beach, but we all know it's real. FEMA is actively involved at the beach. Some alternative building requirements for beachfront are now being considered, and there's going to be some opposition here at the beach as far as elevating the beachfront properties. The FEMA involvement is what's really motivating people to get interested in this topic because, of course, it will affect the flood maps, which will necessitate flood insurance that some residents will be forced to purchase if they are found to be in a flood zone.
Thank you. John, same question to you about adapting to climate change and curtailing emissions.
Yeah, one of the things that we have to look right off the bat, Dave, is alternative energy, that we need to look at alternative energy. You know, there's a plan that would look at transitioning from fossil fuel to alternative fuel. One of the things that's really important that we have a lot of beach property, the sea level, and eventually we can have, somebody's going to have the ability to share with the folks there that we're going to have to raise those properties there to maybe instill, maybe move back. There's some homes that have been there for 50, 60 years. So eventually when those homes have to be replaced, do you replace with the same permits and then make sure that they move those properties away from the beach area or put them in the higher stilts or whatever? I think this is really important. We had fires. You can see the fires that we had here in California. We have hurricanes that are hitting us here in the southern part of the nation. We need to take care of our climate. It's important. Our poles, or North Pole or South Poles, they're raising, the water's raising. If they raise a couple of inches, you know, the water goes into, we are going to be lose 2-3 feet of property here, and especially here in Ventura County. So climate change is with us, and we need to follow the scientific part of climate change and work with it and look at alternative fuels over a sufficient time so we can transition from fossil fuel to alternative fuel. We don't want to lose jobs. We just need to do a
Thank you, John. John, we'll stay with you for the next question. As mayor, you're considered maybe the #1 cheerleader of this city, and this question deals with bringing in new business. What would be your strategies to attract new businesses to Oxnard, and how will you help retain the ones that are already here?
Well, first of all, you know, I'm a business person. As you know, I had my own business for decades, you know, my real estate business and my tax business. And I think it's important that we support business, because without business, I mean, you have nothing. I mean, whether if we have big companies coming in like Procter & Gamble, like Haas Automation and so forth, those provide smaller jobs like restaurants and gas stations and so forth. And I believe in the multiplier effect. I think it's extremely important that multiplier effect takes care of businesses. If, for example, one thing that I'm doing here at the county is coming out with a PLA to train people, to train individuals, men and women, to help small business to come up with a multiplier. I think it's 3 times. Every time that you have a job, you produce 3 times that amount. So I think that'll help small business. Downtown, we need to have mixed use, for example. Mixed use will help get more businesses. So in fact, at one time, we were going to have mixed use around Plaza Park. We were going to have Mercado that would have helped those people, just like the collection. You have all the homes around the collections, and that's what really creates business, and that attracts business. When you have a business that come in, they look at a multiplier and see how many dollars come in from 1 mile, 2 miles, and they have a big circle that gives you the opportunity to understand where the money's going to come from. I support small business, but I think we need to provide jobs.
Thank you. Deirdre, same question. What will you do to attract new businesses and help retain the ones that are here?
All right, well, the downtown Oxnard has already been rezoned. We've done that within the last 4 months. And so the buildings are going to be allowed to go up to 5 stories. This is intended to be used as mixed use, bringing residents into the downtown area, which of course, as you know, was destroyed when the collection was built. So we do have $4 million in settlement money that was obtained from those people at the collection. And that's what's left of that settlement. I'm hoping it's used wisely. I think we need to get out there and start promoting Oxnard, as our current administration has done, successfully bringing the Amazon distribution center to the Saquioca Farm area off Del Norte. This is going to lead to great road improvement, which, when our infrastructure is in place and our city is safe and attractive and we have adequate housing, they will come. Existing business will benefit from the increase in residents, and I'm hoping that Measure E passes to allow us to accomplish the improvements that we need to generate business in Oxnard.
Thank you, Deirdre. Moving on, there's another measure actually on the ballot called Measure L, and this will change the way that the city's finances are managed. Can you speak about this and share with us whether you are in support of Measure L or opposed?
I am absolutely opposed to Measure L. I don't think it provides enough checks and balances when you allow the treasurer to also be the chief financial officer of the city. This is on the ballot because of internal issues that the current treasurer is having with the city administration. It's ill-conceived. It is a measure that allows voters to elect a professional into a professional job that should have certain minimum requirements and subject to performance review. So I'm opposed to this measure. I think it's very unwise.
Thank you. John, same question to you. Your position on Measure L and why? I'm sorry, John, we got you muted. So if you could unmute. Okay. Go ahead, John. Please start.
Yeah, I really do not support it because as an election, one of the things to apply for an election position, all you have to be is 18 years of age, be a good citizen, and also have no criminal record. So I believe that we need somebody that is qualified. For example, in the county, we have a financial director needs to be at least has a 4-year degree in financing, and also it has to have at least 8 years of experience, and also have a public experience in running a finance for the city. For example, in the county, we have a $2.4 billion. And can you imagine having an 18-year-old running that operation? Commingling those two does not make any sense because where's how can you check each other out? I believe that the treasurer's office should be somebody that could keep our funds safe, and also our CFO is somebody that keeps our records safe. So I really do not believe it. I think it's really a bad decision to combine the treasurer and the finance director. And as I mentioned before, we have a pretty good qualifications there in the city of Oxnard, and we should follow that. But I believe that's really, really a bad measure L.
Thank you, John. Next question. Let's talk about housing. There's always a shortage of housing talked about throughout the communities, and sometimes it's the type of housing. So tell us your specific policies for looking at housing. Do you have a special type of housing like rental housing, apartment, larger homes? Share with us your strategies for improving the housing situation.
Well, see, one of the important things here, housing is probably one of the most expensive here in California. In fact, across the U.S., I think San Francisco and L.A. and San Diego is the highest, and we're about the 4th highest. So I believe we need to have mixed use. As I mentioned before, we look at the collections, we have mixed use there, and that's working out really good. We also need to have granny flats. The governor said, hey, we can add a granny, to the house, so we can add to that particular home to have affordability. But I think it's really, really important that we do that. However, one of the things that we need to do is also raise our wages. So we have a lot of people, the essential workers that are working for $12 an hour, $10 an hour. We need to bring those wages up so people can afford the rent. Right now, the governor has no increases in rent. There's right now people cannot increase or evict anybody out of their homes. That's illegal right now. But we need to provide housing, and we need to provide it now. And I think it's important. We have people living 2-3 families in one home, and they have no other choices. But we need to provide that opportunity for people to build a home an additional home or add to their homes in order to provide affordability. And it's extremely important. We have youth that are graduating that need to have housing, or else we're going to lose the brain talent out of our city, which we need desperately. And I think it's important that we provide housing.
Thank you. Deirdre, same question to you. What types of housing do you want to promote? What are your actual strategies to accomplish that?
You know, most of the decisions that we need to make are being dictated by the state of California now. Oxnard's getting ready to update the housing element of its city's general plan. And once we do that, the state sets the number of affordable housing units that Oxnard must generate. Oxnard is really on board in doing this by streamlining the permit process for the accessory dwelling units, which we call ADUs. Some people refer to them as granny flats.
Can I interrupt you just a second? There we go. Okay, please continue.
All right. So I'm in favor of the ADU concept. I do think we need a multitude of housing. We do need apartments. And as a matter of fact, Oxnard has just had some apartments built over on Channel Islands that were right next to the Old Amar Ranch Market, which are intended for a lot of students at the university. We need rental housing. We need upscale housing. And we need it planned smartly. The collection, in a lot of respects, it's beautiful and people are living there on top of each other. There's not enough parking, it's underparked. It doesn't have enough parks. So it's the quality of what we provide as well. And I'm aware of the parking issues that we have. We're limited by the density bonuses and the concessions we have to give to developers who develop affordable housing. So a lot of the choices have been removed from us. We have to be smart and we have to insist that the aesthetics fit our community. This goes right along with maintaining a good business climate. Thanks.
Thank you. Deirdre, along the same lines, the next question is dealing with the issue of homelessness. And are there particular programs, not just goals here, but what would be your actual concrete plans to deal with the homelessness problem?
You know, I don't think anyone can have concrete plans. I have a wish list. My wish list is that we get some much better mental health facilities into Oxnard. Although the county has a health presence, healthcare provider presence in Oxnard, mental health has been sorely lacking, honestly, ever since I've lived here. Addiction is a big issue that we really need help with. We need to be providing services to the homeless, showers, toilets, laundry, kind of like we do for boaters when we provide them temporary hygiene when they come into our ports. We are going to be working with the county and the state and converting the Vagabond into some permanent homeless housing, as well as a navigation center on 2nd and A Street, or 2nd and B Street in downtown Oxnard. I think that's a good start, but it's certainly not a solution. It's just not a solution. We need to be providing some health services, social services, access to treatment, and the services that they need to get their life moving forward.
Thank you. John, same question. Do you have any concrete plans to help solve the homelessness problem in Oxnard?
Well, as a supervisor, one of the things that we've done, we've allocated $1.6 million for housing, where we've helped the city of Ventura and the city of Oxnard. In fact, we have the Knoll project over in Ventura. We already have permanent housing there for 50 plus homeless individuals. We also have what is called the Room Key project, where we've, in fact, the other day, Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors allocated $3.25 million towards a Vagabond for temporary. This is not to buy the property, but temporary housing, which I think is important. We provided money for the Armory. We provided support for the 2nd Street project. And also one of the things that we're providing is mental health. We're also providing an opportunity for individuals to write resumes, put them to work and so forth. 20% of the people that we have homeless really have mental problems. The other individuals have people where they lost their jobs, or they got evicted from their homes, or they had marital problems, and so forth. But those are the kind of people that we need to help with the Room Key projects that we have in the county of Ventura. So we're helping our cities, especially Oxnard, in Ventura, which I think is extremely important. And we're providing even more CARES money that's going to come to help our homeless. And of course, that's going to help our businesses here in downtown. It's going to help a lot of people keep them off the parks and make sure that they're off, especially in the wintertime.
Thank you. John, next question. Let's take a step back from these actual policies and learn a little bit more about both of you. So we'll start with you, John. Share with us why you are running for this office. What do you think sort of sets you apart? What might be your number one or two goals? Just share with us a little insight into you and your plans.
Well, first of all, as I mentioned before, I've been here all my life. I was born here at VCMC, but I believe that I have the leadership qualities. I believe that I've been a policymaker for 24 years as a city council member and also as a supervisor. And I love Oxnard. I believe that I want to bring business to Oxnard. I want to bring safety to Oxnard. I want to clean up Oxnard. One of the biggest things that I can see right now is when you drive into Oxnard, you see all this trash, you see all this garbage, so it's like coming into your home and or your yard is not mowed and so forth. But I think it's really important that we have pride in Oxnard. When people come from other cities, they're going to say, hey, I love Oxnard. Well, I'd love to live in Oxnard. Look at the harbor right behind you. That's the kind of project that we need. So I think I can be that leader, and I've had the experience. I love Oxnard. It's my home, and I think I have the experience and the wherewithal to bring more pride to Oxnard, bring more businesses. And I think it's important that we also support our public safety programs, which are really important to all of us. But I believe that I have the leadership qualities and the experience to. I've been a policymaker for years and years, where not just an appointed, but a policymaker for 24 years. I think it's important.
Thank you. Deirdre, same question. What are some of your goals? Why are you running? What do you think sets you apart?
I'll tell you why I'm running. Because when is enough enough? Isn't it time that we get some new leadership into Oxnard? I mean, I lived here during the 1996 to 2008 when Mr. Ceragoza was on city council. And I wasn't impressed with leadership skills. Actually, the failure to observe what was happening in Oxnard is what's led us to our inability to handle that 2008 recession and a lot of the current budgetary problems that are being uncovered with the numerous audits that have been conducted, because the auditors can't get through the financial documents that came out of those administrations. So Oxnard's finally on a better footing, moving forward with killer ideas by this city manager, who I get along with very well. And I am in an appointed position, and I've been appointed to the Planning Commission since 2005. That must tell you something, that my work is good, my diligence is good, my thinking is good, and my view is it's time for a change here. Who wouldn't agree to public safety, beautifying, picking up trash? Who doesn't want that? Of course we want that. It's how are we going to get that? And having some energy for the job. I work very hard. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to show up and work. I appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Deirdre, next question to you. This is a local policy issue, and the question is, the city's part in the J Street Drain project has been postponed for 3 years. What is your position on this?
A lot of that has to do with watershed protection. So, that's under the jurisdiction of the county. The overlay that they want to put there is a great idea, but they've got to clean the waste that's down there, and structurally it needs to be reevaluated. Of course, everyone wants that cleaned up. It's a mess, especially for those people who live beside it. It's full of pollutants, full of trash. It drains to Ormond. It's terrible. So that should be a definite infrastructure priority, that if we have to couple with the county to get that done, that's what we need to do.
Thank you. John, please share with us your position on the J Street Drain project.
Yeah, thank you. We've been working on this project for many, many years. I know that the watershed agency from the County of Ventura is working with the city of Oxnard. One of the things that was proposed is to cover it and have a park run from all the way from Channel Islands all the way to Wainimi Road, because there's a lot of debris and trash that's in there, and a lot of debris and trash has been rotting for that matter. And a lot of the residents that live alongside J Street have really complained for many, many years regarding that. And also at the outlet over in Wainimi, they get the end of it too. And there's been a lot of concerns from the residents of Wainimi that we need to clean it up. This is a continuous cleaning of that ditch. And I think that we need to continue working with it. And unfortunately, the recession hit us and the COVID hit us, and right now it's in a standstill. But I think that we need to cover that J Street the way we had it before. And they had a nice park. You know, there's a lot of renderings that are there that I think it'll help us eventually. I think eventually we're going to have to cover that project and make it more of a health and safety issue as far as I'm concerned. But ultimately, Dave, I think we're going to cover that once we get out of this COVID and this pandemic. We're going to start working at it again, and I think it'll work out.
Okay, John, next question.
So it should add recreation.
It's not your turn yet. John, same question, our next question to you. This election marks the city's transition to all district representation. And as the mayor, you'll be the only person elected at large from among the entire city. So share with us your thoughts about what you think the mayor's role is in bringing the districts and council members to consensus. How will you deal when council members are focused only on very local issues in their districts?
Well, I think it's important that as a leader, you bring the council together. The job, you don't have any more power than the other council members as far as voting is concerned, but you need a leader that can bring people together. I was also a chair of the board in the County of Ventura a couple of times. And not only do you just think about your district, I thought about 840,000 people that we were representing. But I think that your job is to bring the council together, to make sure that we have consensus, to make sure when they represent their districts, which is fine, and we support them. However, we also need to think of a holistic approach. We need to think of the entire city. Your vote has a lot of effect on what happens to the entire city. So I think that's extremely important that we do that, you know. And then also one of the things that I did is agree to disagree. I think it's extremely important. When I went before the Board of Supervisors, the first thing I said, let's agree to disagree. And that really worked out pretty good, you know, with all of us. But I think we need to support all the districts, whether it's South Oxnard, North Oxnard, and we need to support it and work together. And the job of the mayor is to bring those council members together and come out with consensus. Form a partnership, which I think is important. That's my trade, partnership, partnership, partnership. And let's agree to disagree.
Thank you. Deirdre, if you're elected mayor, what will be some of the things you'll do to try and bring the council members to consensus and represent the whole city?
Okay, well, I agree with a lot with what Mr. Ceragoza has said, but I had a little concern with the way the question was worded when you asked it to him, because it made the assumption that the council members can't see beyond their own districts, which in observing this city council, I'm very impressed with their ability to see beyond just interests in their district and look at the entire city picture, particularly South Oxnard. We know what's good for South Oxnard is good for Oxnard, because when you've got a big population there that's unhappy, that attitude spills over and the hostility spills over. Our city is, you know, almost 30 square miles. We have a lot of diverse interests here, a lot of different communities, different business communities. So I agree, consensus building is very important. I think I work well with others. I've been chair of the Planning Commission for many terms. I'm able to have my commissioners work together, go through the facts, review the documents, listen to the people, and come to at least majority vote on how we think the city should proceed. So yeah, I see it as a unifying force and a cohesive consensus builder. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Deirdre,
Yes.
in Oxnard over the last 20 years, it seems there's been many challenges within City Hall, financial improprieties. There was a district attorney investigation. There's been questions about how the entire operation has been managed. If you are elected, what are some of the policies you'll put in to promote transparency and clean up some of these issues?
I don't think we have a lot of these issues now. We have a city manager who, in my view, is very transparent. We have a killer city clerk. It's too bad she's leaving. The city hall staff is very productive to the extent that they can be. With these budget cuts, a lot of staff positions have been reduced. Transparency, I agree with the sun, whatever it is called policy, where our agendas are being posted 12 days in advance. I do think the computer presence, the online presence needs to be improved. I find the website very difficult to navigate. Not very difficult, but difficult enough that there are multiple steps for people to get to the information that I think they need. As far as our city council meetings are concerned, I think they're timely. They're conducted in a very productive manner. The public's comments are received, and there's access to the agenda well in advance to allow for written input. So I think I would pretty much continue the open strategy of Mr. Lynn and the city staff that we have now. I do continue to encourage the use of translators, and I think providing additional materials in Spanish would be beneficial.
Thank you. John, same question to you. There's been a lot of problems in the city over the years, and the question is, what will you do as far as promoting transparency? What policies do you think need to be put into place?
Well, first of all, transparency, I think, is really, really important. One of the things that is extremely important is make sure that you fill out your 700 forms of your financial statement. Anytime that you receive anything over $50, you have to report it. And I've been very, very diligent about that. One of the things that we hire, we're the board members. The city council is the board members, the board of supervisors, board members of large corporations. And the supervisors, a $2.4 billion operation with 9,000 employees. In Oxnard, a $500 million budget with 1,000 plus employees. So you hire a city manager and a city attorney that you can trust. You can trust with the budget, you can trust with legal statements and so forth. One of the things that are extremely important to me is that we have good auditors, because you as a board member rely on the city manager, you rely on the city attorney, and you rely on the auditors to make sure that they're giving you the right information so you can make policy accordingly. If you don't have the proper staff, then that we have a problem. If we know up front, then you get rid of the city manager, you get rid of this attorney, and you get rid of the CFO. But we need to have trust. Us as board members, we as policymakers, we need to have that trust. And if not, then you change the troops. You don't change city managers, district change. But you need to trust us folks as policymakers. And I think that's important that we do that and have good auditors to make sure that they're giving you the right information. Very important.
Thank you. Going to move on. John, next question's for you. You might try to come a little closer to the microphone, having a little trouble hearing you. But
okay.
One of the issues that has roiled part of Oxnard for years is the Fisherman's Wharf and the harbor. Many different points of view, both between the city and the county. So John, tell us, what is your vision for the harbor, and what concrete steps will you take to accomplish that?
Well, let me give you a quick history. I know a minute is not enough, but when I first took office there was 800 apartments that were approved. Then we had the recession, then fell apart. Then we have 600 apartments that were approved, and that fell apart. Then when Tollefson came in, he wanted 600 apartments, and I got him down to 390, not 400, 390 apartments. At that time, we had all the stakeholders work with us, and they wanted it. But however, one of the things that the developer needed was a base. They needed a financial base to make it, and the apartments were part of that. One of the things that ended up having is the LCP. The LCP, when the city council put what they call the local coastal planning commission, they would not approve it because the public works plan was supposedly overrode the LCP plan. So we have those problems. One of the things that I like to see is come out with stakeholders, a committee with the stakeholders, with the city, with the county, with the coastal commission, the business people, all of us working together to come out with a project that all are going to be on the same page. And how are we going to get the financial part of it? It's going to be the other part of it. But we need to have a committee and all of us work together and make sure that we have a project that's going to be follow the guidelines of the Coastal Commission. We make sure we have the views, make sure we have something that we all can agree on. And again, I inherited a lot of those concerns. And unfortunately, we had 2 recessions that didn't help us.
Thank you. Deirdre, same thought or question. What are your visions for the Fisherman's Wharf? How will you actually go about trying to achieve that?
My vision is certainly not what the Board of Supervisors recommended when they extended the exclusive development agreement with the developers who presented us with the plan for Fisherman's Wharf to include 400 units of residential development, effectively building a prison wall, blocking the views from Victoria onto the waterfront, denying public access by making a lot of the land there private and gated. My view is it's public space. It should be public space. The request for proposals should be going to firms that build harbors, that build waterfront structure, not real estate developers. Not real estate developers. The proposals that were presented by the Board of Supervisors only went to residential developers. That's not right. I envision like Pike's Market in Seattle, like Newton Circle in Singapore, cafes, bars, outdoor vendors, ice cream carts, snow cones, music vendors, a fishing dock for kids. I think we should have a surf museum. I think that would be wonderful. And make it a visitor serving space that not only visitors, but the residents who live here will enjoy as well.
Thank you. Deirdre, next question to you. It seems like the traffic is getting worse and worse in Oxnard and parking is especially difficult. If you were elected, what would be some of your proposals to help alleviate traffic and parking problems?
Okay, well, you know, traffic's generated by cars, cars generated by people, and you cram people into housing because we don't have enough housing, so you're going to have a parking problem. You're converting garage. The state is allowing the people to convert their garages without replacement parking. We can't require replacement parking for garage conversions. It's not allowed, and that's coming from the state. That's not a city policy. You know, you're a little restricted unless you go to permit parking or you start building parking structures throughout the city. The city built a parking structure way back in the day over there on 2nd Street, and no one uses it. No one uses it. It's too far from anything. It's useless. So I don't know what, anyway, maybe smaller parking structures. I don't know the real answer to that other than maybe some shuttle service around the city, putting transportation where the people are. They're building a clinicus up on Xavier's. There's no bus that goes there. So the people that need to go there can't get there unless someone has to drive them. So bicycle enhancement, I know our updated general plan gave us all kinds of improvements on bike paths and biking, and we're including that in a lot of our ongoing development evaluations.
Thank you. John, seems like traffic's getting worse and worse. Parking's hard to find. What are your specific plans about how to address this?
I think one of the things, you know, we're kind of spoiled here in California. Everybody has a car, you know, from themselves to the kids and so forth. I think we need to promote transit. You know, I belong to the Gulf Coast Transit District, and that's one of the things that we'd like to do, to promote transit even more so. Ride share. If you can ride share with individuals to work, I think that's extremely important. And also, one of the things that we need to do is, one of the things that a lot of the homes, we have older homes with 6,000 square foot lots or 8,000. One of the things we need to do is be able to cut driveways in front so we can have more parking. And I think one of the other important things is signalization, that we need to have our signals timed. For example, down Ventura Road, we have the signals timed at 40 miles an hour. We need to put more timing. We need to make sure that the signal lines are properly signaled so that we can have the people. If for example, I've gone down Ventura Road at 40 miles an hour, and I get all the green lights. Those kind of things. Down Ventura Road, and sometimes we can do that. But ride share, transit, and also get off your car as much as you can, and I think that'll help us tremendously. One of the things that unfortunately we need housing, so we need parking, we need density, and unfortunately that creates parking problems. In some cases, we need parking structures. For example, over at Wagon Wheel, they're building a big old parking structure, and I think that's extremely important to have those type of facilities.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
John, move on to the next question. The city of Oxnard has a different pension retirement system than the county, so it's apples and oranges. But what would be some of your strategies to deal with the heavy expense that the city is facing regarding pension liability to CalPERS? Do you have any particular reform plans you would promote?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. The city of Oxnard has PERS, the Public Employee Retirement System, with the state of California. The county has Ventura County retirement system. One of the things that we've done in the county, which I think is extremely important, is to stream our to make sure that we go for 15-year rules as opposed to 30 years to make sure that you spread out your costs over 15 years as opposed to 30 years. One of the things that I'm very proud about is that the liability in the county of Ventura, we're up to 85% coverage, where we only have maybe 15% liability as opposed to some of the CalPERS that are 60%, and we have the 35%. So I think we need to work on it now with PERB, the new PERB, the Public Employee Retirement System that the governor put in. People had to pay more of their retirement than the legacy employees. So I think it's important that we look at that. For example, in the county of Ventura, we have 9,000 employees. 3,000 of those employees are now under the PERB. Therefore, they pay more into the retirement than the legacy employees. So we need to look at that, and I think that's something that I can bring to the city council and work with the city manager and our financial people to reduce the pension liability. It's extremely important.
Thank you. Deirdre, same question. What would be some of the policies you put in place to try and deal with the pension liabilities facing the city?
Thank you. Well, Mr. Ceragoza doesn't have to bring it to the city. He doesn't have to bring it to the city manager because they're already aware. And let's explain that in 2013, Governor Brown signed a Reform Act regarding state pension obligations, which meant that there was going to be a weaning away of the employer contributions to employee pension funds. And so what's happened in Oxnard is those people who are already retired will receive that, and their pensions will have to be funded to the extent that they're entitled to receive those benefits. In Oxnard right now, 35% of the employees are new hires. And so they are coming under the reform that was generated by Governor Brown in 2013. So this, as our city manager said, who's well aware of the issue, this is going to be a generational change. This isn't going to be something that can happen overnight, but it's in the works, and we're already 35% of the way there. It's going to take time, but it is generational. If Measure E passes, 1.4 million of the projected 40 million in receipts is designated to go to funding pension liability, which Oxnard has already paid down significantly.
Thank you, Deirdre. So this may have to be the last question, candidates. I want to give you both a chance to talk about some large projects. So Oxnard has had large projects as far as downtown. Some of that's been going on for years. There's questions about the Center Point Mall area. Share with us a little bit about where you're going to put your energies, how you want to see Oxnard transform into new things. And Deirdre, we're going to start with you.
I want all parts of Oxnard to be better. Wagon Wheel is coming along. We just had a planning commission meeting on redistribution of some of the parcels inside that I can't comment on because we're having another hearing on, but that's in the works. River Park is always an ongoing concern. They've got some levee issues there, so that deals with FEMA. So, I'm reluctant to comment on anything there. The Financial Plaza, that third tower area, I think that's going to rear its head again, and let's see what we can't put there. The Levitt's property is committed to becoming a U-Haul vehicle rental place. Big, that's going to be big. South Oxnard, they wanted to destroy the corner of Channel Islands and Saviors with a 7-Eleven and a 12-pump gas station. Planning Commission nixed that. South Oxnard, the Zocalo idea proposed by our city manager is an awesome idea. You know, I own property in Mexico. I'm in Mexico 4 times a year at least. And the Zocalo is the gathering place, the entertainment place, the festive place, the visiting place. And I think this is just a great idea, especially if it's done right. Ormond Beach is going to bring a lot of ecotourism. I would like to devote a lot of my energy there. And I think we'll see a big improvement in South Oxnard as a result.
Thank you. John, share with us your vision and strategies for some large projects in Oxnard.
Well, first of all, I'd like to serve when I was in the city council. I was the chairman of LAFCO, the Land Agency Information Commission, that brought the collections in to Oxnard. And I know that at that time we were thinking that the collections were going to work with downtown. We're going to have a trolley that's going to connect, the collections with downtown. And also, as I mentioned before, we had the project, the project that was going to come into downtown with mixed use, and that was part of the project that didn't happen, unfortunately, because of the recessions. But I believe that also that one of the things that we did when I was in the city council, we revitalized the Esplanade. We bought Home Depot that was over in Vineyard, and then also at that time we had Hands Across the River with Ventura, where we shook hands and we stopped all the suits that we had. But I think that we need to work with downtown. We need to work with those businesses to come out with more density, whether we like it or not, because SCAG is saying that we need to have so many homes built in Oxnard. And that's going to revitalize Oxnard. We need to work with the downtowners to make sure that they're successful. And really downtown, South Oxnard, I believe needs an assessment district. There's a lot of things that we need to do with to clean up South Oxnard, to make sure that the right-of-ways and those items are cleaned up so they can have more pride in their neighborhood. And I really want to work with South Oxnard to bring it up to a level point that's going to be a health and safety pride for that community.
Thank you, John. Candidates, thank you very much for answering our questions tonight. I'd like to move to the closing statements. We're going to do the reverse order of the beginning. So, John, you'll go first whenever you're ready. You have 1.5 minutes.
Thank you so much again to the league, and I think it's really important that to share with you that I've lived here all my life. I love Oxnard. And the reason I'm running for Oxnard is because I said I can bring the leadership. I have the 24 years of policy making, 12 years as a city council member, and 12 years as a supervisor. And as I mentioned before, I want to bring more businesses to Oxnard, improve the lifestyle of Oxnard, support and promote our youth, really important. Our seniors, we need jobs. We need to reduce crime. We need Measure E to support our public safety programs and increase our budget reserves. Our budget reserves is extremely important to all of us. As I mentioned before, budget, we need to help our veterans, our homelessness, our homeless issues, our businesses, and also one of the things, make Oxnard clean, keep it clean. The mediums, the entrance to Oxnard need to be cleaned up. And also, as I said before, I've been 24 years of experience that as a lifetime person, I think I could be that leader that we need in Oxnard. Vote for me here in November 3rd, and I will be the candidate that's going to bring the leadership to Oxnard. And I said, look at my website, Ceragoza4mayor.com, Zargoza, for mayor.com. And I really would like to be your mayor, and I believe I can bring the leadership that's needed. This is my city. I love it, and I want to make sure that everybody's really, really proud of our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
Vote for Ceragoza.
thank you. And Deirdre, when you're ready, a minute and a half.
Thank you very much. No, it's not your city. It's our city. It's our city. When is enough enough? What is the choice that's before our voters today? Are we going to go back to a time when unqualified people were serving Oxnard, when district attorneys busted into city council chambers? Are we? It's time, people. It's time to move on. And let's take a look at some new things that we can do in Oxnard with a different vision and someone who's got the energy to implement it, the analytical skills to evaluate it, and the interest in making it happen for you. I'm that person. You can watch me on the archived videos of the Planning Commission. You want to see my leadership style. You want to hear what I think about the environment, about traffic. It's all there. My website is Deirdre Frank for Mayor of Oxnard 2020, if you want more information. Otherwise, be satisfied that I've given you the very best answers I can here tonight, and I'd welcome your vote and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of our candidates. Sorry we don't have a live audience to give you a round of applause, but don't go anywhere, candidates, because I want to take a moment to thank the volunteers at the League who helped make this possible. You met Betsy Patterson earlier, our president. Pat Essick heads up voter services. Maddie was helping with the clock. Elizabeth is our handling everything. I can't do any of this without Elizabeth. So thank you to all of them. And I want to take a quick moment to share with our audience a presentation from the League of Women Voters about planning your vote. Every registered voter will be mailed a mail-in ballot. You should already have received them. You can return those through the Postal Service. You can return them at any of these secure ballot boxes around the county. You can even drop it off at one of the voting centers. They'll be opening up around 3 days before the election. The League wants to give you some important dates. As I mentioned, everybody will be mailed a ballot. If you choose to vote in a voting center, you can do that as well. If you do not receive your ballot by October 16th, please contact the Elections Division. And the League recommends that no later than October 20th, you mail in your ballot so that it'll be counted on election night. Of course, any ballot, as long as it's postmarked by November 3rd, will still be counted if it's received up to 17 days after the close of the election. There are some very valuable resources for you. Where's my ballot.sos.ca.gov. You can go in there, put in your information, and you can track your ballot as it moves through the Postal Service and back into the Elections Department, so you'll know where it's at. Votersedge.org is a place where you can put in your address and find all of the candidates running for office in your area, and you can even learn about ballot measures as well. The League website is lwvventuracounty.org. That's the place where you registered for tonight's forum. You can go back there to register for upcoming forums. I can announce that on Tuesday, October 13th, the League and California State University Channel Islands will be hosting a congressional forum with Julia Brownlee and Rhonda Kennedy. That'll be at 5 p.m. You can register for that on our website. And there's other forums coming up as well. Tomorrow night, we have 2 forums for the other council districts in Oxnard. So with that, I would like to stop sharing that screen. And once again, thank their candidates. I'm David Marin with the League of Women Voters. Thank you all. Good night.